Both were 90. Both were born just a few houses apart, on the same street in a small Midwestern town. They played in the same fields, chased the same ice cream truck, and even joined the army together in their 20s. They retired around the same time, lived just a few miles apart, and even saw the same doctor. But here's where the story changes. One of them, Harold, still read the morning paper with a fresh pot of coffee and cracked jokes about politicians. He worked on crossword puzzles with a pencil, not because he had to, but because he could. The other, Joe, sat in a quiet room most days, unable to recall the names of his grandchildren. When Harold came to visit, Joe looked up at him and asked, "Do I know you?" Two men, same age, same beginnings, but their minds, worlds apart. What made the difference? That's what I want to share with you today. Because what happened to Joe could happen to any of us. But what Harold did, that just might save you. Harold and Joe were like two branches from the same tree, born the same year, raised on the same dirt roads, even enlisted in the same unit during the war. After retirement, they settled just a few miles apart. Life, it seemed, had given them a matching script. But by their 90s, the stories had drifted in opposite directions. Harold still had a spark in his eye. Every afternoon, you'd find him at the park, playing dominoes with the same crew he'd known since the 70s. He told the same old jokes, bad ones mostly, but he remembered every punchline. He even remembered your birthday, if you told him once. Joe, on the other hand, had faded. His world had grown quieter. He rarely left the house. Most days, he sat in silence, staring out the window. Sometimes he talked to the TV, thinking it was someone he knew. I still remember the day Harold visited Joe. He brought Joe's favorite lemon cookies, sat beside him, laughed, waiting for recognition. But Joe just looked at him, confused, and said, "Do I know you?" That moment broke something inside me. Looking back, the difference between Harold and Joe wasn't something that happened overnight. It was the result of years, no, decades, of small choices. Tiny, almost invisible habits that stacked up like bricks, quietly shaping two very different minds. Harold never stopped being curious. After retiring, he picked up birdwatching, of all things. He said he liked how birds never forgot where home was. Every morning, he'd step outside with his little field guide and a pair of beat-up binoculars, jotting down the names of whatever flew past his porch. It wasn't about being productive. It was about staying engaged. He also kept his calendar full, not with grand adventures, but with simple human contact. Tuesday afternoons were for dominoes at the senior center. Thursdays, coffee with a neighbor. Sundays, he volunteered at the local library, helping kids find books they'd actually read. He didn't do any of it because he had to. He did it because he knew staying connected kept his mind alive. And here's something I'll never forget. Every night before bed, Harold wrote down one thing he learned that day. Sometimes it was big, a new word, a strange fact about giraffes. Other times, it was small, like never microwave chili in a plastic container. But he kept that habit for over 30 years. Joe, on the other hand, well, after his wife passed, he started pulling away. He told himself he just needed some time. But that time stretched into months, then years. He stopped answering the phone, skipped church, said no to every lunch invitation. It wasn't that he didn't care. He just didn't try anymore. And the less he tried, the harder it became. Joe spent most days in front of the TV. The same shows, the same couch, the same silence. No puzzles, no books, no conversations that challenged him. When the brain isn't asked to think, it forgets how. I remember once, I brought him a crossword puzzle book, thinking it might help. He smiled politely, thanked me, and put it on a shelf. It stayed there for 3 years, unopened. And that's what hit me the hardest. It wasn't one tragic event that took Joe's mind away. It was the quiet, slow drift into stillness. The world moved, and he didn't move with it. Harold chose to stay in motion, in spirit, in thought, in community. Joe, sadly, chose to pause, and never pressed play again. And the older I get, the more I realize, it's not just genetics or luck that keeps a mind sharp. It's motion, it's connection, it's choosing every day to stay in the game, even if just by a little. Science has a simple way of explaining what happened to Harold and Joe. Our brain, much like our muscles, works on a use it or lose it basis. When we challenge it, when we talk, read, solve problems, try new things, it builds connections, strengthens pathways, and stays sharper for longer. But when we let it sit idle, those connections fade. Slowly at first, then all at once. Researchers call this cognitive reserve. It's like a savings account in your brain. Every time you learn something new, meet someone new, or even just take a different route on your walk, you're making a deposit. You're building a reserve that can protect you, even as your brain naturally ages. Harold, without even knowing it, was building his reserve every day. His brain stayed busy, curious, challenged, alive. Joe, on the other hand, slowly stopped making those deposits. His days became predictable, repetitive, and eventually empty. And here's the surprising part. It doesn't take much. You don't need to learn a new language or master the violin. Even small changes, chatting with a neighbor, trying a new recipe, reading something different, can make a big difference over time. Studies show that people who stay socially active, who keep learning and moving, are far less likely to develop dementia, even if they're genetically at risk. So no, it's not all luck or genes. Sometimes it's as simple as choosing to stay interested, choosing to stay involved. And just like that, your brain thanks you, one connection at a time. Watching Joe fade was one of the hardest things I've ever seen. It felt like watching a house slowly lose its light, room by room. And the truth is, I saw a little of myself in him. There were days I didn't feel like talking to anyone. Days when the couch felt safer than the world outside. And that scared me. But Harold, he reminded me of something important. That staying sharp isn't about being busy. It's about being engaged. With people, with ideas, with the world. I started doing small things. Reading books that made me think. Calling old friends, even if just for 5 minutes. Taking walks without my phone, just me and the trees. And slowly, I felt the difference. Not just in my memory, but in my spirit. So if you're listening to this, and you've been feeling stuck or distant, don't wait. The mind is like a garden. You don't need to build a castle. Just plant a seed. Water it. Care for it. And before long, it'll grow stronger than you think. So, what made Harold different? It wasn't magic. It wasn't perfect health. It was a mindset, one small choice at a time. He stayed open, curious, connected. He didn't let age tell him who he could or couldn't be. He gave his mind reasons to keep showing up every day. And the good news? It's never too late to start. You can pick up that book you've been meaning to read. Call that friend you've been thinking about. Try something new. Anything, no matter how small. Because the sharpest minds at 90 aren't always the luckiest. They're often the ones who kept moving, mentally, emotionally, socially. So take it from someone who's seen both sides. Your mind wants to stay with you, but you have to meet it halfway. Thanks for listening, my friend. Now go on. Call someone you love. Try a new recipe. Sit in the sun and wonder about something. That's how it starts. That's how you stay sharp. Even at 90,